Okay, hey everybody. There were quite a few questions about this assignment, and so I thought it would just be a whole lot easier for me to show you what I was thinking, kind of explain the logic behind it. This is part of the reason why I'm having you guys do screencasts. It's just easier to talk face to face, even though technically that's not the case here. So what I wanted to do was explain to you, first of all, this is the section in our course where you're going to find this Unit 4, and it's the word processing example. And when I was going through all of the tool comparison worksheets, it seems like you guys have a pretty good grip on what this is. If you didn't know how to use a Word document, you wouldn't even be able to be in an online class. So really what we're going for here is not, just kind of the basic stuff. I think, first of all, people have a very hard time when there are not very, very specific guidelines explaining everything bullet point by bullet point that you need to do. The problem is, part of what I'm trying to get you to do in this class is to think on your own too. And as long as you can justify the reasons why you did something or why it's in the best interest of your students, you're good to go. So, but I'll give you an example of what I'm generally looking for, and then you need to use your professional judgment to determine how this is going to actually work for you in your situation. You already learned how to use a word processing software. You were introduced to both Microsoft Word and Google. Now what you need to do is apply that. You need to create a document in Word. And it can be in Microsoft Word, it can be in Google, it can be in LibreOffice, it can be in OpenOffice, it can be in any of these other free options. Now, if you're not real savvy with a lot of these things, stick with Microsoft or stick with Google and you're done. But I don't want to limit people because schools are exploring lots of different areas right now. And if you want to go out and try a different type of word processing software, that's perfectly fine. So that's where that comes from. But in here, I only introduced you guys to two, and that's Microsoft and Google. So when you look at this example, the first thing you need to do is just create a document that's relative to your job as a teacher. So it doesn't matter if it's a worksheet in a class, if it's a newsletter, if it's a letter home, if it's a lesson plan. Someone asked me earlier if they could do something that was actually related to something personal that they're doing. Perfectly fine. That it doesn't absolutely have to be something tied to education. I just didn't want you guys just creating documents for absolutely no reason. It's a waste of everybody's time. So if you have something else that you want to create that relates to a family event or a vacation or something like that, that's fine. I have zero problem with that. All I want to know at the end of this is, do you understand the different tools that are in these word processing systems and how to apply them? So I'll give you an example here. One that I was, in fact, just working on actually shortly before you got here. Let me see if I can find it. Got to look around. I got to hide your bar here. Oh, there we are. Okay. So I created this. I don't know how much you guys know about this, but we're creating a new Center for Educational Emerging Technology, and I want to get app requests from people, different apps that I think could be really useful for us to download onto our machines. And so what I needed to do was to create a form that they could fill out. And what I did, and it's funny, I've been working this stuff a long time, but until you need it, you don't really care. And one of the things that I needed was to have people identify which certification area their request pertains to. So if they found a really fantastic app, but it is really used for life skills, that is really most beneficial for special education, then by them handing in this form and checking this little special ed box here, that's going to make it much easier for me to know where to put it. We've got different folders for different things on different devices. So it's just going to make it much easier for me and the student working with me to know what is this for. And then they need to fill in the name of the app, the cost, and why are they suggesting it, what's good for it. Now what I had to learn that I didn't before is I was looking for sort of a checkbox option here, and I had to insert I had to go to home actually and go into these bullets, and this was the only open one that I could find. Now if I dug around a little bit more, I could probably find little square boxes and check boxes, but right now one of the things I learned is this is really my only option for this part, which is perfectly fine. So that's one new thing that I learned. I also, you'll see with all of with the assignment, you can see that it has integration of word processing Web 2.0 tools, and one of them is cool text. So part of the problem with a lot of these even Microsoft Word, which you know is more dynamic and more functional than Google, but even that, it has things like word art, which is something like this here, and then you can go ahead and add new, graphics, but it's really, really limited. There's not very much you can do with it. So when I went to Cool Text, which is what I decided to do for this sort of little banner here, I just followed this link, and it took me to this page. Let me get rid of that. And now I can say, okay, so this is what, oops, sorry, I'm in the wrong page here. Okay, so now I can see that there are all these options, and if I'm sending this digitally, then this is very cool because I can do something that's actually burning. So say we'll go ahead and do that, and I'll say, okay. So what I can do is type in something, I can change with the lettering, I can mess around with it a little bit, then I can create the logo, and then I can download the image. And remember, I can save this as an image file. The problem is it's kind of big and kind of bulky, and I've got my screencast stuff, so I'm going to go ahead and, let's say I wanted to use my Jing, then I can go ahead and open up my little option here. I can just center around that part, I can capture the image, and I can just copy it right onto my document. So that's one example of how I can use these tools to integrate just one new thing. It doesn't matter what it is. Any of those options are suggestions, but if you've got other things, other websites or software or something you want to integrate it that just makes it pop a little bit more than you would normally see in a standard function list for Word documents. So what I did was I copied and pasted that into here. I just need to remember to credit it because the only thing with with this graphics page is I need to link it and say where I did this from. That's the only thing. So you always want to check out for those things. Now, what I did was I just explained to you how I created this document, and I showed you the different things that I didn't know before that I was just able to do, and that's all you have to do, okay? You have to create something, anything, you can see whatever function it has, it doesn't really matter. You need to integrate a Web 2.0 tool, and then you need to do what I just did, and that's just create a screencast explaining all of the different things that I learned. Maybe there are new fonts that you were playing with. Maybe you were learning to highlight things. I was talking to Kylie earlier, and I said that for lesson plans, one of the things that's really useful when you guys fill all those out, say you did it for another class, you can take that document from another class, and if you highlight the options that say, when you're conducting this lesson, you're looking down at your lesson plan, you can't read it off while you're teaching. You need big blocks of letters, or you need highlights, or let's say if I were to go in here, I could. Let me see if I can find review. I'm going to go ahead and add a new comment here. I could go ahead and type in a comment on the side there, so at quick glance I can see exactly what I'm looking for. So there really are no set criteria here. The only thing that you have to do, you have to create some kind of word processing software. You need to add something into that document that is not an inherent part of Microsoft or Google or whatever functions are all up here. You need to go outside to get something new, and then you need to explain in a screencast 5 new things that you learned and applied in here. So even if it's not evident in the final draft, if you say, well, I was playing around with the comments, but no, I changed my mind. I really didn't like that after all, and so I decided to just get rid of them. Okay, so I went ahead and right click, let me go ahead and delete, and I decided I didn't want to do that anymore. That's perfectly fine. Okay, so all you need to do is just explain, how this is going. If you're really not sure about it, this is the first time that we're trying this, okay, and remember, it's progress, not perfection. So when you hand it in, if there are elements that you're missing or things that you need to work on, I'll just send it back to you and say, you know what, if you want to, why don't you go ahead and try it again. I can't do that for every single teaching artifact because I would never get the grading done. You guys would never get grades. Everybody would be miserable. But for this one, do it, give it a shot, turn in what you can by Friday, and then I'll take a look at it, and if we need to tweak it or anything, we'll take another week and we'll tweak it. No big deal, okay? I hope that explains it just a little bit better, but again, if you have questions, just call or email. Thanks, guys. Well, maybe not. Where's my Camtasia? There it is.